Did you know that the man we know as the Buddha, the Enlightened One, was once a prince who had everything the world could offer? Intriguing, isn't it? Welcome to this exploration of the life and teachings of Gautama Buddha. Many centuries ago, around the 6th century BCE, in the verdant landscapes of present-day Nepal, a prince named Siddhartha Gautama was born into a life of opulence. Little did anyone know, this prince would one day renounce all his worldly pleasures to seek the truth of existence. The turning point in Siddhartha's life came when he stepped outside his palace walls for the first time. The sight of an old man, a sick person, a corpse, and finally, a serene ascetic, made him question the ephemeral nature of life. This profound realization was the catalyst for Siddhartha to leave his princely life and embark on a spiritual quest. For 6 long years, Siddhartha practiced severe asceticism, denying himself nourishment and comfort, only to realize that the answer did not lay in extreme self-denial. It was then, under the Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, that he discovered the middle path, the path of moderation away from the extremes of self-indulgence and self-mortification. It was here that Siddhartha, now the Buddha, attained enlightenment. Buddha's teachings, known as Dhamma, are profound yet simple. They revolve around the 4 Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. The first truth is the existence of suffering, or dukkha. The second truth is the cause of suffering, which is desire or attachment. The third truth is the cessation of suffering, nirvana. The fourth truth is the path leading to the cessation of suffering, the Eightfold Path. The Eightfold Path is a practical guide to ethical and mental development with the goal of freeing individuals from attachments and delusions. It includes right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Buddha's teachings also emphasize the concept of anatta, or no self. This profound teaching suggests that there is no unchanging, permanent self, soul, or essence in phenomena. It challenges the very core of how we perceive ourselves and the world around us. Buddha's teachings have influenced and shaped the lives of millions around the world, encouraging them to lead lives of compassion, peace, and mindfulness. They serve as a beacon of light, guiding individuals on their spiritual quests, leading them towards a path of inner peace and enlightenment. In conclusion, Gautama Buddha, once a prince, embarked on a spiritual journey seeking the truth of existence. His profound teachings on the 4 Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and the concept of anatta continue to guide, inspire, and enlighten individuals on their spiritual paths. His message is one of peace, compassion, and moderation, a message that resonates with humanity even today, over 2,000 years after his passing. It is an invitation to look within, to seek, and to discover the truth of our existence. Gautama Buddha, the enlightened founder of Buddhism. Welcome to Top Thangs. Today we embark on a journey of profound wisdom and peace. Discover the life of one of history's most revered spiritual figures, whose teachings have transcended centuries and continue to guide millions towards understanding, compassion, and enlightenment. From the serene Bodhi tree to the core principles that define Buddhism, explore the essence of a philosophy that seeks to illuminate the path to inner harmony and liberation from suffering. Gautama Buddha stands as one of history's most influential spiritual teachers and the founder of one of the world's major religions. As the primary figure in Buddhism, his life story and philosophical teachings propelled a movement that now counts over 500 million followers globally. By achieving enlightenment and sharing his awakening, Gautama Buddha sought to help all beings transcend suffering through moral living, meditation, and wisdom. According to Buddhist tradition, Gautama Buddha lived and taught in the northeastern region of the Indian subcontinent, sometime between the 6th and 4th centuries BCE. While historically unverified, the broad narrative of his life provides inspiration to Buddhists as an archetype of spiritual liberation. Gautama Buddha's teachings on the 4 Noble Truths, Noble Eightfold Path, karma, and the practice of mindfulness continue to resonate around the world. Beyond founding Buddhism, Gautama Buddha's example and philosophy also profoundly influenced Indian society and thought. Buddhist principles of non-violence, compassion, meditation, and introspection enriched developing Hindu traditions in India. Buddhist monasteries later became centers of learning that helped transmit Indian culture and ideas across Asia. To understand Gautama Buddha's legacy, it is essential to examine the historical and cultural landscape he emerged from, analyze his core teachings, and trace Buddhism's evolution after his death. While shrouded in legend, Gautama Buddha stands as one of history's most pivotal figures, whose impact continues to be felt across Eastern and global civilization. Historical context and life of Gautama Buddha. The future Buddha was born as Siddhartha Gautama in Lumbini in either the 6th or 5th century BCE, according to various estimates. This location lay in the Ganges River basin near the Himalayan foothills, part of the kingdom of Kapilavastu, ruled by the Shakya clan. This region in the northeast Indian subcontinent marked the cultural center of the country at that time. Significantly, it lay at a crossroads between global cultures, with trade networks linking India to Persia, China, and the Mediterranean. The dominant religion during Gautama Buddha's lifetime was Brahmanism, an early precursor of Hinduism focused on priestly authority, societal classes or castes, and elaborate Vedic rituals. While inequality, superstition, and sacrifice characterized Brahmanism, alternative traditions like Jainism and yoga emerged, promoting asceticism and meditation as paths to liberation. This vibrant religious debate shaped the world in which the Buddha came of age. According to Buddhist texts, Gautama Buddha was born into nobility as a prince of the Shakyas. Sheltered in palaces, he married a princess and lived in luxury, insulated from the sufferings of normal life. However, during chariot rides outside the palace, he famously encountered an elderly man, a sick person, and a corpse spurring reflection on mortality and human suffering. Later encountering a meditative ascetic, Gautama decided to similarly leave his comfortable life behind to seek understanding. After years of studying with ascetic masters and undertaking severe austerities, Gautama Buddha decided to instead pursue a middle way between mortification and indulgence. Seated under a Bodhi tree in meditation, he attained nirvana, an awakened state of liberation, peace, and insight. Thereafter known as the Buddha, or Enlightened One, he went on to teach his path for the rest of his life and established the early Buddhist community known as the Sangha. He died around age 80 at Kushinagar, reportedly leaving this final teaching. All composite things are perishable. Strive for your own liberation with diligence. While later embellished by mythology, this traditional account of Gautama Buddha's life story provided an inspirational model and archetype for Buddhists to emulate, the prince who gave up wealth for spiritual enlightenment. His life embodied the values of renunciation, contemplation, wisdom, compassion, and dedication to spreading enlightenment. Beyond legend, historians have had difficulty corroborating details from Gautama Buddha's life. The first biographies did not appear until centuries after his death. However, modern scholars generally agree he lived during the flourishing culture of the Ganges basin, dominated by Brahmanism and other ascetic traditions that shaped his philosophy. This fertile historical context gave rise to Buddhism. Overview of Gautama Buddha's core philosophical teachings. Gautama Buddha's awakening formed the basis for his teachings on the root causes of suffering and the pathway to escape repeated rebirth in samsara. While interpretations diverged later, the key principles attributed to Buddha include the Four Noble Truths, the Noble Eightfold Path, the importance of compassion, and the practice of mindfulness meditation. The Four Noble Truths. This foundational Buddhist teaching diagnoses the problem of suffering and provides a prescription to end it. The four truths are: 1. Dukkha. There is suffering and discontent inherent in life. Even joy and happiness are not permanent. 1. Samudaya. The cause of suffering is craving or attachment, as people grasp after transitory and illusory phenomena. 1. Nirodha. There is a way to extinguish suffering and reach nirvana, the state of enlightenment free from craving and attachment. 1. Magga. This path out of suffering is the Noble Eightfold Path that leads to awakening. Buddha's first sermon after his enlightenment outlined this sequence, explaining the problem of suffering and its solution. The first truth identifies universal suffering driven by attachment, which breeds discontent. The second truth analyzes this, seeing self-oriented desire or craving as the root cause. The third truth holds out the possibility of transcending this cycle, with nirvana attainable by overcoming desire. The fourth truth then outlines the Noble Eightfold Path as the route to realization. The Noble Eightfold Path. The fourth truth contains the Noble Eightfold Path, considered Buddha's guide to live ethically, practice mental discipline, and gain wisdom. The 8 elements of the path are: 1. Right understanding. 1. Right thought. 1. Right speech. 1. Right action. 1. Right livelihood. 1. Right effort. 1. Right mindfulness. 1. Right concentration. Following this comprehensive path leads to the end of suffering through ethical conduct, mental cultivation, and insight into reality. Buddha described this as the middle way between extreme luxury and extreme asceticism, balancing wisdom, ethics, and meditation, karma, rebirth, and liberation. Gautama Buddha accepted the idea of karma and cyclical rebirths faced by Hindus and Jains, seeing it as trapping beings in samsara, the endless round of birth and death. By extinguishing craving and attachment through the Noble Path, a person can achieve liberation, nirvana, and escape rebirth. Morality, insight, and compassion, not rituals or gods, offer salvation in Buddha's teaching. His emphasis on introspection, meditation, and self-cultivation departs from Brahmanism's reliance on priests and deities. Mindfulness and meditation. Buddha's path relies heavily on mindfulness, concentration, and meditation. By training one's mind and awareness, practitioners gain insight into reality as it is, reaching enlightenment. This psychological approach focuses on understanding the mind and human nature rather than appeasing gods or following rigid rules. Mindfulness meditation and contemplation are central to Buddhism. The Buddha notably welcomed women and lower caste members to his Sangha or monastic community, reflecting his egalitarian teachings. He sent disciples across India to share his Dharma or teachings, founding a movement that evolved into Buddhism after his death. While not claiming to be divine, Buddhists view Gautama Buddha as an ideal teacher who discovered a universal path to awakening accessible to all. Evolution and spread of Buddhism. After Gautama Buddha's death, Buddhism evolved significantly after Gautama Buddha passed away around 400 BCE. Changing social and political landscapes shaped the religion as it spread across Asia from its Indian origins. Buddhism gradually faded in India but became the dominant faith across the rest of Asia. While splintering into different schools, Buddhists venerate the historical Buddha and continue practicing the meditation, ethics, and philosophy he taught. Early development in India. After Gautama Buddha died, the Sangha he founded continued organizing itself with more rules and structure. They held councils like the First and Second Buddhist councils to agree on monastic discipline and collect the Buddha's teachings into sutras or scriptures. Early differences arose between conservative monks who sought to preserve the Buddha's doctrine and more liberal monks open to new ideas, the forerunners of Theravada and Mahayana Buddhism respectively. Buddhism grew popular in India between 200 BCE and 200 CE as trade networks spread Buddhist art and thought. Monasteries developed into large complexes acting as pilgrimage sites and centers of learning. However, in later centuries, the growth of Hindu devotional worship eclipsed Buddhism's influence in its native India. Muslim conquests of the subcontinent from the 12th century CE onwards further marginalized Buddhism in India as Hinduism and Islam dominated. Theravada Buddhism. Emerging from the more conservative early Sangha, Theravada, doctrine of the elders, formed as an organized monastic school in the 3rd century BCE, emphasizing strict adherence to the earliest teachings and texts on the Pali Canon. Theravada centers on attaining nirvana through monastic discipline, ethics, and meditation. It became dominant in Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia. While a minority today in Asia, Theravada remains closest to Gautama Buddha's original ideas. Mahayana Buddhism. Mahayana, great vehicle. Buddhism emerged as a more liberal school in the 1st century CE focused on the laity and achieving enlightenment for all beings, not just monks. Mahayana added new texts like the Lotus Sutra and new deities, spreading first through trade networks to China and East Asia. From China, branches like Chan, Zen Buddhism developed, advancing experiential meditation over scholastic study as the path to enlightenment. The largest school today, Mahayana grew more philosophical, devotional, and reliant on hierarchies of Buddhist saints and quasi-divine beings. Vajrayana Buddhism. Centered in the Himalayas, Vajrayana, diamond vehicle. Buddhism incorporates regional practices like Tantra, mantras, and yogic techniques along with Mahayana philosophy. Evolving in the 7th century CE, Vajrayana features initiation by spiritual masters and visualizations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas during meditation. Dominant in Tibet, Mongolia, and the Himalayas, it is the smallest yet most esoteric branch. While adding regional innovations, all Buddhist schools venerate Gautama Buddha as the original teacher of enlightenment. Over many centuries, Buddhism evolved from Gautama Buddha's original Sangha into a diverse religion assimilating local cultures across Asia. As it interacted with Taoism, Shintoism, Confucianism, and shamanism, Buddhism changed and fragmented but retained its core principles. Though Buddha himself likely taught in vernacular languages, the usage of Pali, Sanskrit, Tibetan, and Chinese also influenced localized Buddhist developments. However, all Buddhist branches share reverence for the example and awakening of the historical Buddha as their inspiration. Gautama Buddha's enduring legacy and influence. As the primary figure in Buddhism, Gautama Buddha left an immense intellectual and cultural legacy. His life story and teachings inspired followers across 25 centuries while transforming Asian spirituality and philosophy. Buddhism also impacted Indian society before spreading internationally in the modern era. The Buddha's exemplary life and universally applicable teachings ensure his ideas will continue enlightening humanity in the future. Impact on Indian society and thought. Buddha's rejection of Brahmanical privileges challenged the caste system and notions of ritual purity that limited social mobility. Buddhism opened spiritual practice and monastic life to all, regardless of caste or gender. Buddhist principles of ahimsa, nonviolence, and karma also penetrated Indian thought broadly, limiting sacrificial rituals. Monasteries often became oases of learning and commerce, spreading culture. Ideas like mindfulness meditation enriched developing yoga and Hindu devotional theism, syncretizing with Brahmanic and folk practices. This Buddhist contribution to more compassionate, egalitarian ethics and introspective spirituality was significant in Indian history. Spread of Buddhism across Asia. Buddhism's spread from Afghanistan through Central to East Asia made it the dominant philosophy and religion across the continent for over a millennium. This diffusion of ideas, culture, art, language, and technology had profound implications for Asian civilization. Buddhist monasteries served as institutions for transmitting culture, technology, and texts as the Dharma traveled from society to society in Asia. Gautama Buddha's teachings proved universally adaptable as Buddhism interacted with diverse cultures, transforming Asia socially and intellectually. Relevance of Buddhist principles and practice. Concepts like the Four Noble Truths, nonviolence, meditation, impermanence, dependent origination, and the illusory nature of the self remain relevant metaphysical and psychological insights today. The principle of mindfulness, calmly focusing attention on the present moment, is now commonly practiced in the West for stress relief and mental health, demonstrating Buddhism's flexible applicability. Buddha's teachings offer pathways to reduce suffering that carry moral and pragmatic wisdom. The example of his compassion and equanimity continues inspiring people globally. Impact on art, architecture, and literature. Buddhism deeply influenced the arts and architecture across Asia as Buddhist themes spread through paintings, sculpture, ceramics, and textiles. Stupa shrines, temples, and monasteries developed distinct regional styles from India to China to Southeast Asia, conveying Buddhist imagery and values. Buddhists wrote vast philosophical and devotional works across many languages, transmitting ideas between cultures. As one of the world religions, Buddhism left an artistic, architectural, and literary legacy of global importance. Gautama Buddha's influence as Buddhism's founder stretches from transforming ancient Indian thought and society to inspiring artistic achievements across Asia. His teachings changed Eastern spirituality and philosophy while offering universally applicable contemplative practices. As Buddhism continues adapting into the 21st century, the insightful legacy of this Indian spiritual teacher endures as a beacon of compassion, mindfulness, and our shared human potential to awaken, the enlightened sage who transformed Asia. Born into a society dominated by Brahmanic rituals and caste divisions, Gautama Buddha sought a more egalitarian and introspective path to transcending human suffering. Through his awakening and teachings, he founded one of the world's major religions that would profoundly shape Asian civilization. Buddhism influenced even non-Buddhist traditions in India and carried Indian ideas abroad. Beyond his immense historical impact, Gautama Buddha remains an embodiment of human aspirations to gain wisdom and enlightenment through moral living, calm contemplation, and insight into reality. While shrouded by centuries of myth-making, the basic arc of Siddhartha Gautama's life serves as an inspiration. His princely upbringing and awakening to universal suffering spurred seeking enlightenment through intense meditation. Teaching his path gently without claim to divinity, Gautama Buddha united lofty ideals with pragmatic insight tailored for all people. By founding a sangha dedicated to spiritual progress through community, education, and charity, his impact continued spreading for millennia after his passing. The Four Noble Truths, Noble Eightfold Path, Principle of Ahimsa, and Practice of Mindfulness remain relevant today as life-affirming and therapeutic teachings. While Buddhism evolved away from his earliest ideas in India, the example, wisdom, and compassion of Gautama Buddha still enlighten and inspire millions worldwide in the 21st century. His brilliant insights into the workings of mind and happiness show that insight has no expiration date. Gautama Buddha stands tall among history's most important spiritual teachers who illuminated pathways to human flourishing. As we conclude our exploration of Gautama Buddha's journey and teachings, we're reminded of the timeless wisdom that can be found in the pursuit of enlightenment. His teachings on the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path offer a blueprint for living a life of mindfulness, compassion, and peace. Share your thoughts and reflections in the comments below. How do these teachings resonate with your own journey? Remember, enlightenment is a path, not a destination. Like, share, and subscribe for more insights into spiritual awakening and inner peace. Gautama Buddha's teachings provide profound insights into the nature of suffering, the importance of compassion, and the pursuit of enlightenment. His philosophy encourages introspection, ethical conduct, and the cultivation of wisdom and kindness. How do the teachings of Gautama Buddha about suffering and detachment apply to the challenges of modern life? In what ways can mindfulness and meditation practices enhance our daily experiences and relationships? What are your thoughts? Thank you for watching Top Thangs.